Hi everyone, Hamina, Miahuen, Miahue, Haku, Miyu, and Hauka. So those are some ways to say hello in California Indian languages. First off, I apologize for that glare. I could not get rid of it. So first off, I apologize for that. But today I'd like to show you some books I have on California Indian languages or culture. This is limited because most of the books I do have are in PDF form. But I like to show you what I do have in physical form, and yeah, let's get to it. So first and foremost, I know I use this one quite a bit. Block that glare. Is Why the Yawa by Dorothy Ramon and Eric Elliott. If you're ever interested in learning Serrano or Serrano culture or history, this is the book right here. This is a textbook within itself. This is what I started using when I started to learn Serrano. I still read it. I bring this pretty much everywhere I go. I'm like, a little bit more than halfway done with the book, and it does not disappoint. And it really, challenges me to, better my Serrano and my understanding, comprehension, speaking, etc. And you can find this one on Amazon for like $20 maybe. So that's what I recommend if you want to get started learning Serrano. It's like a must. Next is a little tiny book, very thin. It's called The Road to Maarrenga. So Maarrenga is the Serrano word for 29 palms. So this is not available through Amazon or any of those book sites or anything like that. This one came from the Dorothy Ramon Learning Center and their publishing press. So it's kind of hard to find. So I will post the link to the Dorothy Ramon Center and their press. Maybe you can, if you do want it, you can probably get a hold of them to get a copy of this book. This book is by Sarah Martin, but it's not written by her, but she told a story to the linguist Kenneth Hill when he was doing his Serrano studies, and Mr. Ernest Siva actually transcribed the story when he listened to the recording, and the book is made. So the book is written in Serrano and in English. Okay? And then on the right side, it has some notes about, more details and description about what she's talking about and things like that. So, The Road to Maarrenga. And here's a picture of Sarah Martin in her 20s. So, this is a kind of a rarity, but I recommend if you can get a hold of it, then I would. Next, we're going to move down south to the Dictionary of Kumi territory. So this book is the Dictionary of Mese Grande Digueño, or I think they call it Northern Digueño, if I'm not mistaken, or Kumi. So I picked this up at the Maarrenga Reservation in Banning. So this is the book I'm using in, and also I'm using the book, Let's Talk Ipai. I forget the title, but it's basically Ted Quoro. He worked with a linguist, and they made this book, and then they also made that textbook. So they accompanies it. I don't have the textbook because it's out of print, but the public library has a copy, so I'm using their copy to learn Digueño, and that's what I'm using to do like the conversation stuff, like the first Digueño video I did. So yeah, you can find this one on Amazon too, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, if you want to learn Kumi or Digueño, I usually call it Digueño. I think it's by nature because the Serranos, they say Digueño. So yeah, so just a ordinary dictionary with Digueño words. Next is a poetry book. I actually picked this one up today, so I don't really have an idea how to read the title. But in English, it's called Walk Strong. It's human poetry. So these are actually from California, but Mojave, which is contained in this book, along with another four languages, I kind of consider it California, but not really. It's more Arizona. But I also picked this up at the Morongo Reservation. So it's just like poetry in other Mojave or any of the other languages. So you have the language, and then you have it in English. Sorry if you can't see that. So if you want to learn more about like the human tribes, then you probably want to get your hands on this. So next, moving up north, just a little bit, to Kawaii Sioux territory. So the Kawaii Sioux, I feel like they're very open about people learning their language. It's like if you go to UC Berkeley's archive of California languages, they have like even lessons on that site and everything. So I feel like the Kawaii Sioux are pretty open about people learning the language. So this book is probably not the best book to start off with because it is a grammar, and I feel like it's for linguists. So I mean, it has a dictionary and has some text so you can read if you want to practice, but to learn the language is probably not the best. But yeah, I have a book on Kawaii Sioux. Next, I have the Cahuilla Dictionary. So I picked this up also at Morongo Reservation a while ago, and I'm using this in a company with the Cahuilla recordings from the 50s and 60s to, get how to write the words and things like that. Or sometimes they don't even have the word in this book, so I have to just listen to it. But overall, it's pretty much all the words because the linguist that wrote this dictionary is the same linguist that did the recordings, so there really shouldn't be a gap there. But overall, if you want to learn some Cahuilla, then yeah, this is probably the book to start to have. There is a textbook written by Catherine Salvo, which I'll talk about later. I don't have that book, but she wrote a textbook on how to speak Cahuilla, mountain Cahuilla in particular. But this is the desert Cahuilla. There's 3 dialects, but mountain and desert, they can understand each other. It was the third one, which is called Pass Cahuilla, or Wanapupa in Serrano. They couldn't understand that much. But, yeah, the Cahuilla Dictionary. Next is the Cahuilla's cousins, the Cupeño. So this book is Mulu Wetem. Yeah, Mulu Wetem. I had to think twice about that one. This book is like a small dictionary with stories. So you have the Cupeño on this side, and you have the English on that side. This book was written by a linguist, and actually the last speaker of Cupeño, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she passed in the 80s. So hopefully one of these days I can probably get my hands on Cupeño recordings, but UC Berkeley doesn't have any Cupeño recordings as far as I know. They have just vocabulary lists and things like that. But if you want to learn anything about Cupeño, so this book is Mulu Wetem, The First People, Cupeño Culture, Mythology, and Cupeño Language Dictionary. Got this at Morongo Reservation, but you can get it, I'm sure, on Amazon. Amazon has everything. Next is the Introduction to Lisenio. So this book is really good. I only went through a couple chapters. They're kind of short because it's meant for a beginner and for a non-linguist. But even linguists can appreciate its methods of teaching the language. So Lisenio, this was written by actually a Lisenio speaker, Mrs. Hyde. I wish there was recordings with this, but at the time, I'm sure it was very difficult to have such recordings of the lessons and things like that. So if you want to learn Lisenio, and what I'm hoping to do is give lessons along with this book to help teach people Lisenio, but I'm not really doing Lisenio at the moment, so this will be in the future for sure. So yeah, so an introduction to Lisenio by Mrs. Hyde, or Valania Hyde, if you want to be specific. I just call her Mrs. Hyde. I think she passed in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw this book on Amazon for $8, so it is good to have if you want to learn about a California Indian language that's actually being revitalized at the moment. Liseños are probably between Serrano, Cahuilla, and Liseño, which are the three tribes that surround me. Liseño is the only one that has an immersion program, and I think that's really awesome. I wish, even though Cahuilla is more spoken, that's kind of interesting that I haven't heard of them having an immersion program. And Serrano, I am not sure of that either, to be quite honest. I heard they're teaching the language, but not as an immersion. So yeah, an introduction to Liseño language by Mrs. Melania Hyde, or Mrs. Hyde. Next is this small phrase book, Go Mich Wakish. This book was given to me by Mr. Ernest Siva when I first met him. He gave me this book. It's just a small phrase book to Serrano and as Desert Cahuilla. The Serrano phrases were written by Mr. Siva, and the Desert Cahuilla was written by Mrs. Cristina Murillo. I hope one day I get to meet her. So this book is also from the Dorothy Ramon Learning Center, from the Ushkana Press. So this book and the book about Sarah Martin, the Sarah Martin story, they're both from the same company. So I will put a link into that press, so maybe you can order it somehow. I think this one is $10, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not completely sure. But this is a very good thing to start off with. So this was the first actual book I had, or pamphlet or booklet, to speak Serrano, to actually get some conversational phrases and things like that. And Mr. Siva helped me as long as when I started to learn. Okay. Next is this small booklet. I got this online through this publishing company. I don't remember the name. This book is called Now You're Speaking Our Language, Gabrielle Ino or Tongva and Fernandinho. Sorry, I probably butchered that. So if you want to learn Gabrielle Ino and things like that, there's small phrases and things like that. But I think a really good thing besides this book is that there's a Facebook page to help teach Gabrielle Ino. I call it Gabrielle Ino again. Of course, Serrano, they say Gabrielle Ino. Don't say Tongva. But this is a very, good booklet to have. So there's that book. Next are these small booklets here. This is more history than anything. So you have the Serrano pamphlet, the Chemehuevi, and then the Chumash. So these are just history pamphlets. I get these from Malki or Morongo Reservation. Well, these two are. This one, I'm not sure where it comes from. I actually got this one from a public library. So you got these booklets here. And then these two word books, little pamphlets too. This one is a Cahuilla word book by Mrs. Sawol, Catherine Siva Sawol. So it has, like a word list. So you have, some birds or frogs or animals or, names of people like Nachanish for man or Nichil for woman, etc. And the same thing, I have a Gabrielle Ino word book. So same idea, but this time it's Gabrielle Ino instead of Cahuilla. So this is a Cahuilla, this is a Gabrielle Ino. And finally, with my California collection, I have this Isil Hekwashwakish, A Dried Coyote's Tale, Volume 1. I don't have Volume 2 of the same idea, with the White Yawa, with telling stories in Serrano, but this time it's in Cahuilla. And Mrs. Salvo spoke Mountain Cahuilla, so this book is in Mountain Cahuilla. So same idea, but this book is bigger and more heavy. you have your Cahuilla text, and then you have your English text. So again, this one, there's a volume 1, and then there's a volume 2, but I don't have volume 2. Hopefully I can get it soon. So there you go. That's it. That's all the physical books I have to learn California languages, culture, etc. So hopefully you guys found this helpful, and hopefully you guys can get your hands on some of these books too, because I personally very much use them and take all the knowledge I can from them. So hopefully you guys can find it and you can do the same. So that's all I got, guys. So in Serrano, as they say, amaya.